Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Param Ishvaro Guratmeti Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyomabda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Sava Vedanta Sedanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satguru Pranatosh Maham Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti Om Namaste. Okay. So we are on Canon. We have seen the first two verses that basically contains the entire teaching. When the highly qualified student makes such a most profound question in regarding of the nature of consciousness, and then in the verse 2 the answer says that in an indirect negating way what it is. And as we know, consciousness is the most obvious never not present principle. Imagine something that is never not present. How can we miss it? It seems we miss it because it's never not present. So we take it for granted and we say, oh, no, but this is always there. Now I'm looking for the self. So, and then the teacher has to explain what is this Brahman, what is this divine principle. And this takes us from verse to the verse we begin today. Verse number 5. That which cannot be expressed by speech, but by which speech is expressed, that alone know as Brahman. That alone is known as Brahman, and not that which people worship here and there. If you worship something, you're worshiping something other than yourself. So now you have to become a devotee to your true divine principle, which is consciousness, by which, I can speak, without which the speech could not be expressed. And by speech itself cannot express that, because any speech of ours is going to point to something other than consciousness, which is going to be described through the speech. So that which cannot be expressed by speech. Before we said it's the speech, of the speech, is the eye of the eye. And now we say that, and we cannot even use the speech by expressing that. And then someone will infer that, so the best thing is to stay quiet, like Papaji used to say, stay quiet, stay quiet. But as we know, silence is not going to remove anybody's misconceptions or misidentification with the anattama body-mind. So that which cannot be expressed by speech, but by which speech is expressed, again and again, is the speech of the speech, which cannot be expressed by anything that I tell you. And then again, the guru finds himself or herself in great difficulty. It's the speech of the speech, but no speech can point to that, can express that Brahman, that divine principle. So how are we going to go about expose, revealing, and identifying the divine principle if no speech can really point to that and say, this is what it is? So the guru, as we know, has to go roundabout, indirectly, negating everything that you have identified as the divine principle, the divine spirit, until after you have seen that none of these things, you may realize that you are that by which speech is expressed. So you are speech of the speech. So don't worship this divine principle unless you understand that you do not need any temple to do that, because it is the conscious existence pervading your very existence at any moment, second of your life, 24/7. You don't need to go to a temple to worship. You don't need to do tapas and pujas to worship this divine consciousness, this divine spirit. It's there with you. You just have to hold that perspective of knowledge clearly and firmly, possibly at all times. So how we should know Brahman is further being elaborated here. Definitely not as an object of knowledge. We know that. As we have said so far, knowing this divine principle is claiming I am this divine principle. No? There is only way to go about to know this divine principle, the divine spirit, the divine Devaha, by claiming I am this consciousness. No? So, but in order to to make such a statement to oneself, claiming that, one needs to really understand what the scriptures mean by divine spirit, or Brahman, or Satchitananda Brahman. And you need to also understand what kind of pramana you need to know the Satchitananda Brahman, because it's not the usual perception and inference pramanas. So you know it directly, but then you have to still get a certain perspective and vision of what is the feature of this Brahman, what is the nature of this Brahman. And he is present as Devaha, as God, because Vedanta always brings our search to the search of God. How am I going to claim I am Devaha? It's difficult to claim that, because we are so we are so used to those hardwired vasanas that that blindly believe that I am the miserable jiva atma, the body mind sense complex. We are so firm in that understanding that I am just body mind sense complex, and we become shy to claim I am the divine spirit. What is that? Old habits, hardwired vasanas. We have practiced these aham body mind as me for so long. Every experience in our life serves the purpose to further crystallize this identification, make me really stuck with this false, mistaken conclusion about what I am. Every experience in life will only lead to the crystallization of this false conclusion about ourselves. We need to offset this tendency, bring this knowledge until it becomes very alive in our minds. We never lose this knowledge. And then we can have this knowledge, this new perspective of understanding, influence our experience and develop itself as vasanas based on the true nature of reality. This false conclusion is going to be worsening and becoming rather harder and harder. And then Swami presents the situation that in the beginning we may have some energy to go for it, but then once you get married and then children and everything, you see that you have no power. The wife is going to take over your power. The children are going to consume your energy. It's one of the favorite jokes of Swami Paramarthananda. So you grow old thinking like I'm powerless, and I cannot be this divine principle. I am helpless, and I require someone or some entity to help me. This is how and why religions work all over the world. Religion is going to introduce a concept of God who is always available to support us, to give us comfort. That's why God is introduced, because you are helpless as the body-mind sense complex. You have no control over your life. You have no control over your destiny. And it can be very frustrating trying to control your prarabdha, your destiny, your life, failing again and again. Great suffering comes from that. So most people, they fall into depression, and they develop a bad attitude towards life and God, because they never really had the chance to try to understand the true nature of God, even Saguna God, as the intelligent system. So they just go all over the place trying to find in astrology or palm reading or card reading, anything, that can give you a sense of controlling your future, giving me a perspective of how is my future going to work. I'm not even aware that I'm controlled by the people around me, but I'm controlled by so many other factors in the cosmos, factors that I don't even know, most of them. So once I get to that understanding, I feel even more helpless. And then I need religion, I need God to support me in this condition. So therefore, the introduction of the concept of God is very useful and helpful to allow us to grow mentally, intellectually, and emotionally, until I can really dive into the scriptures of the Upanishads that reveals the true nature of Nirguna God as our very nature. But before that, we have to go through the Vedas, Vedapurva Bhaga, where we try to understand the nature of Saguna God. Because I'm so identified with my body-mind sense complex that I need to find support in the creator. Find us, okay, a creator is here. It creates it. It does not create it alone. It depends on us as well. But it's all designed intelligently and precisely. So I'm understanding the system here, and I have trust. And furthermore, I love my existence. Therefore, I have much gratitude and reverence to the Creator, because this love to exist, love to be, is built into each one of us. Sagada Maharaj used to say, this is the love to be. Everybody's. So with religious, we begin on our paths, and we do puja among other things. Introducing God, introducing God is very important. If I become a atheist, it's really serious problem. But introducing God and becoming a devotee of Saguna God or any deity is just the first step, and it must, which must be left behind, so that we can complete this journey. But at the beginning, we introduce God as an object of worship. So this is the incomplete teaching that here in this perspective is being presented, that incomplete teaching and complete teaching. Complete teaching is the understanding of God, as one of these deities, Saguna God, colored by the gunas of Maya, is the first stage, and then go into the teachings of Nirguna God, which is the only knowledge that's going to free us, because only at the level of Nirguna Atma I can equate my existence as identical. Jiva Atma is Paramatma, my nature. So Swami present that as incomplete teaching and complete teaching. From religion, we are progressing into spirituality, where we have to revise the concept, the Dasohan concept. What is Dasohan?
It's like servitude.
Great, thank you. This concept has two problems. Bhagwan is an object, is one wrong concept. And the second is Maha, wrong concept, is huge wrong concept, which is I am very small and limited and incomplete. So I see Bhagwan as huge, great. Yeah, I see it as an object, it's a wrong concept, and furthermore, I find myself to be vulnerable and impotent. Now, Vedanta attempts to rectify this approach, saying that this devotion, Dashoham, in Dashoham, remove the da part, Dashoham. Soham, Soham, Soham. So remove the da, and then what you have? Soham, 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 means that God which I objectified in so many ways, as Vishnu, is not an object of worship. So Soham, Soham, Soham is I am that Brahman. Isn't it? Is that what it's implied? I am the divine spirit, the non-material consciousness, as Lord Krishna said in the Gita. That God is no other than I. I'm not Mr. Krishna. I am the true nature of Krishna. Now, Lord Krishna himself said, I'm not this Namarupa called Krishna. This Namarupa is perishable, is a OMCT object. The body-mind of Krishna is also, howsoever beautiful it might be, is an OMACT object. Therefore, Arjuna, Krishna, Sharira is not the real Krishna. What is the real Krishna? The divine spirit. So therefore, remove the Dasoham, and then you have Soham. This is self-realization. This is I am the divine principle. This is God realization. That's what the teacher is attempting these profound mantras, the details of which we'll see in the next class. And then Swami comes back saying the student asked about the nature of the Atma, the spiritual principle in everyone and everything, because of which the inert body sense mind complex is functioning, appearing as containing its own sentience. That Atma, the nature of this Atma, this student has named Devara, the divine principle. Therefore, the final question is Atma Kaha. The teacher gave the teaching 2 stages. You know what it means, or what is pointing to this Atma Kaha?
I think that the students question, what is Atma?
Yeah. The teacher gave the teaching 2 stages. The first stage, he gave the Lakshanan of the Atma, the definition as we have seen. The second stage, he gave the Pramana by which you get that knowledge. Because Lakshana Pramana, there's Vastu Siddhi. And the last Lakshanam he gave was Strotsya, Atma is the eye of the eye, the ear of the ear, the mind of the mind, etc., etc. So he gives us a description, a definition of what is this Atma, but it's vague because the Atma being the most subtle, beyond the space-time, you can only talk about it in those terms. It appears to be very vague and abstract, but if you have a very subtle mind, you're going to understand it very clearly. So the teacher goes through indirect definitions. But what the teacher is pointing out too is that Atma is the consciousness principle that vivifies and animates all body, mind, sense, complex. Shankaracharya calls it Chaitanyam Matra Sataham, that which is purely consciousness by itself. Consciousness is different from every organ. Consciousness pervades every organ. Consciousness makes every organ sense capable of contacting its surroundings, sensing the surroundings. If you remove consciousness, the organs will stop to be sentient organs. They will be inert bundle of matter, incapable of knowing themselves as well as their surroundings. Therefore, consciousness is different from every organ. Yet it pervades every organ. Yet it makes every organ a sense organ, sensible. Sentient organ, sensible organ, sensing organ, seeing organ, whatever you call. What is the Atma? Consciousness is the best definition of God, or the Atma, the self. Now, the next question is, what is the means by which, the instrument by which I can know this Atma as consciousness? Through which the consciousness can be known. For that, the teacher said, unfortunately, there is no usual Brahmana that can give you this knowledge of consciousness, which is God. No Brahmana, no usual Brahmana can reveal consciousness. No Brahmana can reveal consciousness. And why do we say no Brahmana can reveal? If any Brahmana reveals consciousness, and then we are in the field of indirect knowledge. You are getting to know God or God or Brahman indirect through a certain means of knowledge. You understand? So we have the sense organs, we have the mind, and through this body-mind complex, we get to know what we know with the pramana of perception and inference. So there is no pramana that can reveal this consciousness. If a pramana would reveal consciousness, and then this consciousness would be just like another object, right? It's just another object. So when we say that no pramana can reveal consciousness, it also says here is that if it would reveal the consciousness, and then consciousness would be possible by indirect knowledge, meaning to say, academic, philosophical knowledge, because you are knowing it through your mind, your intellect, which is based on perception and inference, analyzing your experience and so on. So the point here is that there is no pramana that can really know this divine principle. But yet, because as pramana, when we have a pramana, you have what? We have this trinity of the knower, the object of knowledge, and the means to gain that knowledge. Okay? So we have the knower, the means, and the object of knowledge. So it's indirect. Why? Because you need a means of knowledge, which is the eyes to see the colors and the forms and so on. So I need a means of knowledge. It becomes an indirect knowledge, or generally speaking, scientific knowledge or day-to-day objective knowledge. But when we talk about aparoksha jnanam, as we know, we refer to a different kind of knowledge, which is direct. Direct knowledge is the knowledge that does not require a pramana. There is no pramana. People believe that Vedanta reveals consciousness, but Vedanta does not reveal consciousness. Even my website is the science that reveals consciousness or something like that. But Vedanta does not reveal consciousness, because consciousness is ever, always revealed as Aham. Okay? Vedanta is going just to destroy those wrong notions or identifications with the anathema that the mind has established. Okay? So that's why we go like not this, not that, and these vague pointers to what it is, the divine principle, what it is, consciousness, all these teachings. It can only be known without any means of knowledge. Vedanta is a means of knowledge required to destroy our own identification with the body-mind-sense complex, but not to reveal consciousness, because consciousness is revealing itself all the time. And we need to have that haha moment to really get it. Therefore, here, Swami goes to the extent to say that no pramana can reveal, because this knowledge cannot be known indirectly. And if it is revealed, it is an object of knowledge known by the mind. In Sanskrit, that which is revealed by a pramana is called prameyam. Consciousness is not prameyam. One of the objects in the creation, and it becomes one of the objects, it have many features, and then it means consciousness is within OMACT. It has attributes of Maya. It means to say that the same gunas that projects this apparent order in which all namarupas are constituted by attributes of the three gunas, it means consciousness is going to be as well, defined by the attributes of Maya. But we say, no, there are no attributes of consciousness. We say it's attributeless. There is no Maya within consciousness. And then when we try to define consciousness, it's not this, it's not a product, it's not property, and this and that. And then in analogy, it's not limited by the body, by anything, but it remains always a vague description. Not because Vedanta is not clever enough to make a better description, because there is nothing that can objectively and clearly define consciousness except as one's very own intrinsic nature. Yeah, I am the divine principle. I am consciousness. If it has attributes and features, it means to say it's not consciousness. I will be an achetana vastu. That's why we say that consciousness is aprameya. It's not prameya. Can never be objectified. And the very word aprameya means shava pramana agocharam, not available by any instrument of knowledge, experience. When the teacher says consciousness is not knowable through any known instrument, the student feels disappointed, feels depressed, and say, what the heck am I doing here? I have been spending my time trying to know this consciousness. If consciousness a matter of belief? No. If something is not knowable, it becomes just a matter of faith. Let me see what Swami is trying to say here. Should I have to live my entire life with just faith in consciousness? So, okay, now you have to believe in the divine principle, you believe in God, you believe in consciousness, and you even believe that consciousness, your nature, like most people around the world in this New Age, New Advaita circles, they believe, but it's just a concept in one's mind. It's faith. No, I have faith that I am consciousness, I am God. But can consciousness depend on faith or belief? But the students say, if it's not knowable, and then I can only have faith, I need to have a belief, but I cannot know. Then the teacher finally says, no. It's so interesting, this passage, because I'm going to share with you guys a short text that I wrote trying to help a old student of mine that got a little bit lost with his ego as he has been leading some class of Vedanta and things like that. And I say certain things there that it somehow, most people, even my older disciples, do not like to hear. You know? And why I'm saying this, you know? Because the teacher gave some hope by saying that there is a mean to know it. Because in this text I write things, and a person came to attacking me, saying that there is everything I'm saying basically is showing contradictions and this and this and that, you know. Of course, this person gravitates around my group, but never became my student. So I have to write this person back, and he wrote a very large commentary criticizing and challenging my satsang. And I have to know, I know that when some people bring things like that, they are bringing doubts, and that somehow sticks to some of my students' mind as well, you know? So consciousness, yes, it can be known, but it's not known indirectly. So, just theoretically, academically. There is such a thing as direct knowledge. In fact, self-knowledge is only possible as direct, immediate knowledge, aparakshayana. You don't understand that that's possible, but it's possible. It sounds strange, but it's possible. And since in this satsang I was trying to say that, you know, in the context that a lot of people get deluded, and they transfer the attributes of the mind and the ego and say, no, now I'm claiming, you know. So nobody likes to read that satsang. I'm going to test with you guys to see your reaction. I have to translate, but it's very short. Anyhow, the teacher is saying, no, there is a unique way to know Vedanta. It's presented as a pramana, but I'm saying it's not a pramana that directly reveals the self, but indirectly reveals the self once the ignorance is removed. But even the removal of the ignorance occurs indirectly. You're just applying knowledge to neutralize and dispel the ignorance, but the actual parokshayana happens or is revealed by itself, in that moment, that simple haha moment in which the direct knowledge takes place. Okay. And this method has been handed down through me through the ages. The Portuguese words are coming because I have been writing Portuguese as well, and millenniums. This relationship, Sisha Param Param. So I'm writing to this guy. He said, I cannot have this conversation with you because this conversation is only possible between Guru disciple, and the disciple has to be more advanced because it requires a lot of background knowledge to understand these final, more subtle teachings. So what is the glory of this Upanishad Pramana? It's a unique Pramana, which will reveal consciousness without turning it into an object of knowledge. Does this Vedanta Pramana reveals? Yes and no. It reveals indirectly. First, it removes all wrong, mistaken knowledge regarding to what you are, and then leaves you free from those wrong nations until the direct knowledge. Consciousness reveals itself by itself. It's said again and again in several passages of our texts. No pramana can reveal it because it's already always ever self-revealing. Vedanta, as the Vedanta Vakyam, the declarations, the Mahavakyas reveals the consciousness without turning it into an object of knowledge. It's just declarations of identity. But before you declare Aham Brahmasmi, before the scriptures say Tatvamasi, you are that divine principle, we need to go through a very large body of knowledge that is going to knock our ignorance down. It's going to attack these misidentifications with the body-mind-sense complex from every possible angle. That's why only at the very end it says, by the way, now that we have been attacking your ignorance, now you should hear that. You are this divine principle. It can only be known by claiming, but the claiming needs to be done once the mind is very prepped, purified, refined, subtle, to claim it with conviction. Vedanta is a pramana without being a pramana. Very nice. Vedanta is a pramana without being really a pramana. It's not a means to reveal the self because the self is self-revealing. It reveals consciousness without making it a prameya. It reveals consciousness as yourself, as the absolute subject, which is indirect Mahavakyam, which is an indirect Mahavakyam. Let me see. He gave that fantastic definition, Anyadeva Tajifitati, which is an indirect Mahavakyam. So let's see why he's saying indirect declaration. What is the message given by that? Atma does not come under non-object category. It does not come under unknown object. Now I remember he was saying known and unknown. It's not something known, it's not something unknown, it's something beyond knowledge and ignorance. It's neither known, not unknown. Knowledge and ignorance, of course, within the space-time of Maya. Therefore, Atma is not an objectable, a knowable object. We have to go slow, step by step, says Swamiji. Atma is not a knowable object. That means what? Knowledge is not an object that I can know objectively. But the Atma does exist. So from these, we have to discern the message. The Atma does exist, and it's not an object. What it means? Atma must be the knower, the absolute subject conscious principle of the experiencing entity. This Atma is not the mind, as we know, it's not the sense, it's none of those 5 levels of the 5 koshas. This knower, which is consciousness, the divine principle, can never be known, or is not knowable, even if you try to know it. Objectively, you are never going to know. There is nothing to define it except its conscious existence itself. Keep it in mind, the true nature of the experience is never experienced or experienceable. Forget about trying to have an experience of the self. You are never going to be able to experience it. You are being experienced by it. Somehow the ego is being experienced by it. Therefore, without objectifying the self, you have to know the self by claiming, I am the self, I am the subject conscious principle. Without objectifying Atma, you have to know the Atma by claiming it as the true absolute nature of the knowing entity, the experiencing entity. That true knower, true experience is the divine principle. While claiming I am the divine principle, consciousness, self, Atma, howsoever, we have to remember the meaning of this I should not carry with itself any attribute of Maya. The sense organs has to be out, the mind has to be out. The Atma is not a sense organ that enjoys sentience, self-contained sentience. As we know, the eyes do not have a self-contained sentience. You need the eye of the eye. So therefore, while claiming I am the Atma, I should claim I am the consciousness principle, which is different from every sense organ. It's different from the 3 bodies, from the 5 koshas. It's even different from the Anandamaya kosha that most people get identified, attached to. I am the principle, the divine principle that lends life to every sense organ. So I am the consciousness, and I bless this body-mind. I bless the entire world because I pervade everything. I am that enlivening the body, or enlivening the body. Based on this, you have to remember the 5 capsules of Vedanta. What are the 5 capsules of Vedanta? These 5 capsules of Vedanta is very beautiful. It's different from the 5 features that Swami often presents. I am not the body, mind, sense organ. I am of the nature of eternal and all-pervading consciousness principle. What is the second? I am the only source of permanent peace, security, and happiness, not any one of the objects in the world. Objects in the world can give happiness, but not permanent happiness. Why? Because the objects themselves are not permanent. Also, in the body, the physical body is not permanent. Therefore, the second capsule is I am the only source of permanent peace, security, and happiness. Very beautiful. And then the third capsule. And then Swami says that the five capsules and the five features of consciousness should not be confused. Five features of consciousness, we know. The five capsules is what is presented now. The third capsule is by mere presence, I lend life or sentience to the inert body in the entire universe. The mind-sense complex of all jivas. I lend life by my mere presence, not through any action. I'm a karta. I lend life without ever running out of that which I bless the entire universe with, because I am limitless, actionless, changeless, divine principle. By my mere presence, I lend sentience to the body-mind complex. And through the body-mind complex, I experience the inert world. Body-mind complex becomes a medium for me. I am not the body-mind complex. It is a costume that I use in order to transact in this world. Ramana Maharaj points out the body-mind-sense complex is not me, but is a costume I'm using. Kosha is a short form of costume. Okay, the five koshas, yeah. Panchakosha means the five koshas, these five layers of bodies, of layers that allows us to experience our humanity. Let us use these five layers of costumes, but let us not take ourselves as the costumes, the same way we do not identify with our clothes. I use the clothes, the costume. The world is available for transaction. Therefore, I need to dress up myself. Otherwise, people are going to lock me in. The moment I go to deep sleep, the body costume I do not use, but I remain as I am. No change. Sense organs costume I do not use during deep sleep, but I am. The mind costume I do not use, but I am. I am in deep sleep state as what? As pure limitless consciousness principle. I use the costume, transact in the world, withdraw from the costume and claim that I am the divine principle, Atma, the self. Therefore, costume is not a problem. Employing the costume is not a problem. Identifying with the costume is the problem. That's simple, huh? We need an instrument of knowledge to transact in this world. Unfortunate, everything here goes south, becomes old, and then has to be discarded, any and everything. But that's not really a problem once I do not identify with anything that changed, such as my very body-mind-sense complex. Today I heard from news from my father that he's 95 in 3 days. But unfortunately, finally enough, his dementia now kicked in very strongly now, and he's losing it. So it comes a time that the costume is really kaput, and we need to allow it to go into recycling. Give it to God will in the USA. Goodwill. Not God will, goodwill. Here we have to give it to God will. Well, God, you want it to go, I give it back to you. The actor should never forget that he is an actor while playing the role as a beggar. Dayananda Swamiji says brilliantly, while playing the role of a beggar, let the actor cry. Let him sing a song. In India, the beggars, they have songs for them as they cry. For everyone, there is a song in the Vedic culture. That's how they manage to make moves that run for 3.5 hours, because they make people sing and dancing for half of the story, you know. So funny. Therefore, beggar will sing also. But the beggar in a movie should remember, I'm not the beggar. I'm an actor who is going to become richer by playing this role as a beggar. So play the roles using whatever costume you need and claim, I'm none of these, I'm the Atma. The more I claim I am the Atma, my Ahamkara and Mamakara will get loosened. That is beautiful. Remembers, the ego that brings about I and mine. It loosens up as we identify again and again with our Atma nature, our true nature. So therefore, ragas and dveshas will get loosened up. Samsara will loosen up. As samsara gets loosened up, moksha does not get loosened up. Moksha gets strengthened. Strengthened. Difficult word. Strengthened. So work to loosen up ahamkara, mamakara. It will loosen up ragas and dveshas. Swamiji says assim, I'm using this word loosen up because indeed it is a gradual process. You know, it's a gradual process. Every class should help us to loosen up a little bit more our aham mama. Vedanta is a gradual spiritual evolution, not a revolution at certain point in time. This is very, very, very important. It's, to be remembered always. Swami Dayananda used to say, gradual spiritual evolution has nothing to do with a sudden revolution. Thus, I have to strengthen the Atma Yana. Strengthening the Yana is called Atmanishta. I want this knowledge to be a Nishta, Atmayana, a firm, hard and firm, and available at all times. I have to go through Karma Dharma Upasana to bring me to Shravan and Manana, where I will get this final knowledge. And only my homework, my Nididhyasana will give me a firm and always clearly available Atmayana. The Nididhyasana will give the Nista, fortitude of self-knowledge. You remember we did Viveka Chudamani, that was a long time ago, Swamiji, it seems from what you're saying. As samsara comes down, FIR also gets reduced. This is our long-term project. The long-term project is to assimilate this knowledge through Nididhyasana at the very end, and gradually but surely, transcend the ego and loosening up all those vasanas, those tendencies based on the identification with the body-mind. And by doing so, the FIR gets reduced. Frequency and intensity and reduction of expressions of residual ignorance. This is our long-term project, is reduction of FIR. Before the teacher says, you know the Atma by claiming you are the Atma, up to this we saw in the last class. Being important, I summed up the message. I know you are the Atmanista. You do not require all these things. If you know it, you take it as Nididhyasana. If you do not know it, it's Shravana. The class is Shravana for some students, while Nididhyasana for some advanced veteran students. That's a nice point he made here. Vedanta goes through so much repetition, and he teaches to a large audience from what I heard many years ago. How many people were there in the hall, Mark, when you went to visit him for a couple of days?
I didn't go to any of his lectures. I visited him at his apartment. So it was just him and I.
Okay. But I heard that it was somehow around 100. A hall fitting up about 100 students. And there are people who are coming new, people who are old students or veterans, or what is the other expression that they say is, what the other expression, Lynn, that you like? I forgot.
Sometimes they call these people seasoned. I don't know.
Yeah.
They've been there a while.
Yeah, advanced students, let's say. So I say, so I'm just going about remind you all of that, revising things again and again. Don't get bored by that, because if you already know, so you're going to know even better. Take it as a Nididhyasana. For some other people, it's going to be a new information, a new teaching. In the following 5 verses, 5 to 9, the corollary of the previous 2 mantras, 3rd mantra and 4th mantra, is being pointed out. Atma can never be known. Atma can never be experienced. Atma has to be claimed as I am. Atma cannot be seen. Atma cannot be claimed, can only be claimed as the true nature of the seer. Atma cannot be heard. Atma should be claimed as the true nature of the hearer. Atma cannot be known. To be claimed as knower cannot be experienced, but to be claimed as experiencer. Your mind should not go outwards to know the Atma. It does not need to contact the world, the 5 sense objects of the world, or the respective 5 sense object connect to the 5 sense of the body-mind. The mind should fall back on to your own lap. So it's interesting to see Swamiji presenting pointers which gives us a sense of space and time and action and happening. No? It's rare, but it serves certain purpose. The mind should just fall back on its own lap, should never go out, should just make an effort to understand and claim. That's why I say Vedanta is worldly dependence to God, dependence to ultimate coming back to what? Self-dependence. So you just trace your mind back to its source, and then you find the divine principle, this conscious existence. So what is the Atma? What is the self? Not the body, not the mind, not the sense organs, but Shrotrayasya, Shrotram, etc. So that by which the body and the sense organs contact the world. That not tatra, so much Sanskrit in this text. So know that every one of this verse here is a Mahavakya. Kenopanishad is very small Upanishad, all right, but it's full of Mahavakyas, profound declarations of Mahavakyas, statements. Atma can never be described through words. It's a big one, because silence is not going to help either. What's the reason? I told you in the last class. All words deal with the anatma, OMACT, world, which got the features, OMACT, 5 OMACT features, since the words can describe only material world, which fall into the category of OMACT. We do not have any word to talk about consciousness. Even the word consciousness could be misleading. In fact, it's in general is misleading because people takes the mind to be consciousness. When I use the word consciousness to a beginning student, let's say, he understands consciousness as the mind, another attribute of the body-mind, or a byproduct of the body-mind, or something which is part of the body-mind. The dictionary word consciousness means only the body, which is now conscious. Consciousness is this thing. That's why all over the place, people talking about consciousness, expansion of consciousness. There are so many consciousness. We need to make a conscious revolution. And no, it's culture evolution, it's expansion of the mind. We use the word, he is now conscious. And then what happened? Then he became unconscious. Thus, we use the word conscious and unconscious as adjectives. Adjection only serves for things which have attributes. Yeah, he says in English language grammar, adjective reveals some attribute or property of the OMACT object. Like blueness, which is revealing blue, which is an attribute. Consciousness also in English grammar refers to as if an attribute. How misleading. No wonder it's interesting to hear some people talking about that, because it's there. Wikipedia and all these places, they were taken over by all this ignorance. Maybe it has always been there, this confusion between consciousness and the mind. Consciousness is absolutely attributeless. Now the body is conscious. After the death, the body is unconscious. Remember, the word consciousness also does not reveal the Atma. Consciousness, the word consciousness is a very, very dangerous word unless you are playing with it with the help of a student that again and again, make an effort to prevent the confusion between the attributes of the human consciousness, the mind which is colored by its own attributes, and the real self, the real attributeless consciousness. Okay. So we get back at this point here from tomorrow on. I'm gonna have time to wrap this class of tomorrow. Okay, anything else? Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Namaste.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Arlinda. See you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Bye now.